As you write your strengths and weaknesses section, the goal is to just kind of be objective here and really just point out what are the primary strengths and weaknesses of each argument. So you're not really trying to privilege one argument over the other one, but show what are the strengths of the argument, what are the limitations. You can do this using the skills you learned from the analysis letter. So in my first article, I might go through this article and look for weaknesses and strengths. So maybe some of the strengths would be the sources that are used. So I can talk about ethos. It could be the fact that there are studies that support it. So that could be logos. But I might also want to point out a weakness. And so I'm going to look for something that seems like it's lacking in this. Whether that be failing to address a certain point or not having enough sources for a point or whatever. You know, a strength could be that there's a strong emotional appeal, or that could also be a weakness if it's lacking. So we're thinking again about ethos, logos, pathos a little bit. And so I want to point out probably 2 strengths and 1 weakness for a total of 3 examples. And then I would do the same thing in my second source. I'm going to go through and look for a couple of strengths, and I can and frame that in terms of ethos, logos, and pathos, or I could do it all based on, for each one, I could do all ethos, right? I could just talk about, here's how they're credible, or I could talk about their credibility, their logic, their emotional appeal. It's flexible here, but you want it to be consistent. So if in your first source you're talking about ethos, and you have 3 examples, you'd want to do the same in your second source. Talk about ethos. You wouldn't want to compare ethos to pathos. Ethos in one source versus pathos in the other. That doesn't quite make sense. So you could do ethos, logos, pathos. You could do 3 examples of pathos, 3 examples of ethos, or 3 examples of logos. Like I said, it's up to you how you want to do this, but the key is to point out what you see to be the main strengths and the main weaknesses for a total of 3 examples per source, and then map those out. So again, read those sample papers, see how it's done there, follow my criteria here, and you should have everything you need.